Hello, everyone. In case you forgot who we are, I'm Julia. I'm one of the reporters here at Spotlight Delaware, and I focus specifically on education reporting. Jake is our editor-in-chief. He'll be walking around taking some photos and assisting with questions. If you'd like to follow along to our slides on your own devices, you can scan this QR code here. So I'll just give everybody a minute to do that if they'd like. Okay, looks like everybody got the QR code, so I'm just going to move right along. So this is our agenda for tonight. We'll be going through presenting some how-tos relating to public school options here in Delaware. So we'll be looking at why it's important to send your child to school, what your preschool options are, how to register for school, how to engage with the school choice program, how to apply for a charter school, and what your other schooling options are. So, why is it important to send your child to school in general? So, studies have shown that some of the most important skills students learn are in those beginning months of the school year, and those skills include cooperation, self-control, confidence, empathy, and communication, among so many others. And then there's also the legal side of it. So, parents are legal guardians of students here in Delaware who don't comply with compulsory school attendance laws can actually face legal consequences, including fines or possible jail time. So school districts are required to file truancy charges once a student has 20 unexcused absences, and children under 12 cannot be charged with truancy, so you as a parent or guardian would be responsible for those charges. So, we know that many of you today already have children here at the Kingswood Community Center's preschool, but we just wanted to briefly talk about some options. So Delaware doesn't have universal pre-K, as I'm sure many of you know, but the Department of Education does provide a list of programs that partner with the Department of Education's Office of Early Learning to provide education to children in their local communities. So the state-funded early care and education partners provide services for eligible families of infants, toddlers, and 3- and 4-year-olds. You're eligible to apply if your family's income is equal to or below the federal poverty level, if you're a family with children in foster care, if you're a family with children experiencing homelessness, and if you're a family with children who have documented delays or disabilities. The following school districts also have preschool programs, and you can find out more on each school district's website, which is hyperlinked on the slide. So there's Brandywine, Red Clay Consolidated, Christina, Colonial, Capital, Appoquinimink, or Seaford. So next we'll be going over how to register your child for public school, what you need, and everything in between. So that top link where it says register, that will take you to the Department of Education's site for registering your children for Delaware's public schools. The registration portal isn't open yet. It's key to note that. It typically opens in late October, early November, and the exact dates can vary by district. And although you can register as soon as the portal is open, your child won't be officially enrolled in the school until the summer prior to your child's start. So what do you need when you're actually enrolling your child? So you will need the following: the child's birth certificate, proof of residency, which typically includes something like utility bills from the last 3 months, a lease agreement, property tax bill, a mortgage statement, or a photo ID of a parent and guardian. You'll also need custody documentation, if applicable, health records, including proof of immunization and health examinations. A full list of all of that information is available on the Department of Education's website. You'll also need screenings, including a proof of a physical exam within the last 2 years, and more information on that can also be found on the Department of Education's website. So what else do you need to know about registering? The state says that families should begin preparing their children to register for kindergarten the winter before kindergarten begins. So if you have a child who's starting kindergarten during the 2025-26 school year, you'll start preparing them this winter. In Delaware, students must be 5 years old by August 31st of the current school year to attend kindergarten, And the steps to register your child are the same as the steps we just went over. And the state's Department of Education also has some additional resources online to help prepare your child. It's important to note that in some cases, local school authorities may grant exceptions to early entry into kindergarten if they determine that that's in the best interest of your child. And if you're interested in early entrance for kindergarten, you'll have to submit a request to your district. After you do that, it's likely your child will have to do an assessment for their cognitive skills, social and emotional development skills, physical development, as well as communication. And the Department of Education also has a school locator map that you can use to help find your school of residence. And this map can also be used to find things like where school districts are, where charter schools are, anything like that based on location. And in June 2024, the Department of Education also started transitioning to a new enrollment system. So if you're registering your student in Milford, Seaford, Smyrna, or Woodridge School District, then you'll be registering through this new system. And more information about that can be found on the Department of Education's website. Now, this last bullet point is in bold because it is very important. Regardless of whether or not you want your child to attend their district's public school or a choice school, a charter school, or anything in between, you need to complete the state's standard online registration form with your district of residence. This is something we'll be repeating throughout the presentation, but it's just something to keep in mind for you. And here are some examples of some public schools that might be near you. So we have the Warner Elementary School all the way to the left, Newcastle Elementary in the middle, and Shortledge Academy over at the right. So before we go on to the next topic, are there any questions about registering for public schools? Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to the school choice program. So in this section, again, we'll be explaining what the school choice program is, where do you start, application process, and everything like that. So to begin, Delaware's school choice program allows Delaware's families to enroll their children in any Delaware public school district, charter school, vocational technical school, magnet school, anything like that, regardless of their home address. Some schools may be closed to the choice program because they're at or above capacity. And in those cases, if seats become available, then the wait list will be used to fill them. And again, families must first register their child in their school of residence if they're not already registered in a Delaware public school. And then from there, they'll complete a standard choice application form during the window of the choice application. So these are the important dates for throughout the school choice application process. So as you can see, the window for that application timeline is November 4th until January 8th. Online, you'll see an option for a standard application on the Department of Education's school choice website. And the state says that the online application is the preferred method. However, there is also the option for the paper application if that's what you prefer. After that window closes, the schools process applications based on state and local policy. And some schools may use a lottery process as well. Families are notified of their application status, whether it's an acceptance or a rejection, no later than the last day of February, which this year is February 28th. And if you have multiple acceptances, multiple invitations from your schools of choice, you will only be able to accept one school. And you'll be notifying those schools, whoever you got into, of your decision by March 21st. And from there, after you do that, all other applications that you may have submitted will be withdrawn or declined. And the State Department of Education website also lists contact information for different district and charter schools if you have specific questions while going through your application process. So another important factor to consider when thinking about school choice program is transportation. So students are guaranteed transportation if their home address is within the district they're attending. But this can get a bit confusing with school choice if your child is attending a school that's outside of their district or their feeder pattern. So transportation for school choice often depends on specific policies set by individual school districts. So if you have questions about, whether your child is going to have a seat on the bus, you should reach out to the transportation office of the district that your child will be attending. Yes. So you do have a lot of options through the school choice program, and as someone brought up before, it's a little bit overwhelming to determine, which school is best for you and your family. So, throughout the time leading up to the school choice application period window, you can learn more about different schools through their upcoming open houses, through information sessions, and you can also look through school performance and education data points for each district's public and charter schools. And you can also look at that through the Delaware Report Card website. That'll have information that you can compare, like enrollment, class size, student behavior, staff ratios, and more. For some people, you might want to look into something like proximity to work or childcare if that's also a priority for you and your family. And again, this is a link to some contact information online for the school choice program if you have specific questions for a charter that you're looking at. But does anyone have questions about the school choice program? So charter schools, what are they? How do you apply? What's the process? So charter schools are public schools, and they're meant to provide an alternative to Delaware's traditional school districts. They're independent, they're tuition free, and they serve students from K through 8th, K through 12th. And the term charter in charter schools is referring to a contract that establishes the school's mission, program, and measurable goals. And each charter has its own academic program. They're different from traditional public schools in the sense that they can only remain open as long as they deliver the results they're promising, meaning they have to remain true to that mission. Charter schools also have a board of directors that's made up of parents, teachers, and community members. These boards aren't elected like public school boards, but they do govern and make decisions for the school. They also get operating money from the state and local school districts, and funding is allocated based on the number of students enrolled. And like with the school choice program, again, families must first register their child in their school of residence if they're not already registered in a Delaware public school. So these are some of the important dates for charters. So what is the application process that goes along with these dates? So if you want to send your child to a charter school, you'll use the Delaware Standard application for educational opportunities. And the application for that can be accessed from the Department of Education's website. Again, that application window is from November 4th until January 8th. And when applying, you'll notice that there's a separate space to write your top 3 schools, but you do need to apply to those schools separately. Some schools also require supplemental information, and you can find more information for that on each charter's website while submitting your application and preparing it. And again, applications are going to be due on that second Wednesday in January every year, so this year that'll be January 8th. Charter schools can accept applications after that day, but if they have more applications than spots available, only the applications received by that January 8th due date will be considered in the lottery. Other applications will go to the bottom of the wait list. So, the lottery process. Let's talk a little bit about that. If the number of applications is the same as the number of spots available, then all applicants are accepted into the school. But if the number of applications is more than the number of available spots, the school is going to hold a lottery with the student applications received by that January 8th due date. So anyone who applied on or before January 8th will be placed in that lottery process regardless of the day or time they applied, and students are chosen in that random blind lottery until capacity is reached, with the remaining students being put on a wait list. And lotteries are held by mid-February at the latest, and then again making that decision by March 21st and notifying the other charter schools of your decision if you apply to more than one. So what are preferences? What does it mean when you hear it in reference to charter school? So a preference gives a certain student a higher chance of being accepted, and there's 3 different types we'll be talking about today. So that includes sibling preference, location preference, and special interest preference. So the first is sibling preference, and that one is pretty straightforward. It's really just giving preference to applicants who are a sibling of a current student, and this can also be used for applicants who are children of current employees. However, it's important to know that there is no legacy preference in there. The second is location preference, and location preference can be done in 2 different ways. One is giving preference to applicants who reside in that district that the charter is located in, and the second is giving preference to applicants who reside within a specific radius of a charter school. So an example of that to consider is the First State Montessori Charter School, and that school is located on the borders of Christina, Brandywine, and Red Clay Consolidated School Districts. So if you live within that 5-mile radius of that charter school, you'll be given that preference. And the last that we'll be talking about today is the special interest preference. So when determining special interest, the person, whoever's in charge of admissions, will be given an objective rubric with specific criteria. So for example, imagine that you're an 8th grader applying to a STEM charter high school. The rubric for that can include a test to determine if you're at that 8th grade math and English level, recommendation letters from math and science teachers, your transcript to show your math and science grades, and a list of different clubs that you're involved in relating to math and/or science. And if you don't get special interest that way, you could be offered an interview to explain how you're involved in other ways that might not be coming across your transcript or your grades. So how does transportation work for charter schools? So each charter has its own busing system, and they often use what's called a hub spot. So instead of the traditional sense where a bus is picking up your student exactly where you live, you could bring your student to a bus stop in that feeder district where the school is located, and the bus would pick up your child there. And then another option, which is what I was hinting at before, is some charter schools have access to DART bus passes for students that are in 6th grade and higher. So that pass is available all year round and can be used on weekends as well. The district of the charter that your child is attending, they're the ones that buy that pass, so you don't buy it through DART yourself. And if you have questions about the DART bus passes, if you're looking to obtain it or anything like that, you would contact your charter school for assistance. Charters also have the option to have the district, meaning the district that their school is located in, run their transportation. So in those instances, students who live outside that district could take something like a DART bus or have a van come and pick them up. And then here are some examples of charters that may be near you. So we have the Charter School of Wilmington all the way on the left, the Eastside Charter in the middle, and Thomas Edison Charter are all the way on the right. And again, we do have some of our Eastside Charter friends here today. And then just something to consider about charters as well. Delaware does not provide money for charter school facilities, so each school must find and pay for its own building. So charters may need to raise money through its community to do things like updating or expanding facilities. Do we have any questions about charter schools before we move on? VOTEX. So Delaware has 3 vocational technical school districts. There's one for each county. So you have Polytech in Kent County, Sussex Tech in Sussex County, and Newcastle County Vocational in Newcastle County. They each provide specialized career and technical education alongside standard academic curricula. The application deadlines for this follows that of the school choice program. So again, those application deadlines are from November 4th until January 8th. And again, like we've been saying throughout the presentation, all families must first register their child in their school of residence if they're not already registered in a Delaware public school. And you can find out more about each school's application process through its website. So next we have magnet schools. Again, magnets are free public schools, and they allow students to focus on a specific learning track like the performing arts, for example. So all subjects are taught through the lens of that track. An example, Red Clay Consolidated School District has both the Cab Calloway School of the Arts, which is right here in that photo, and Conrad School of Science. These schools both teach grades 6 through 12 through the focus of those specific tracks. And the application process for magnet schools, so like the other applications, again, families must first register their child in their school of residence if they're not already registered in a Delaware public school. And the application process for magnet schools is the same as applying for the choice schools. So again, that application window for the 2025-26 school year will be from November 4th until January 8th. However, it's important to note that some schools like Cab Calloway may require a portfolio or an audition depending on what discipline you and your child are looking for. And if you'd like to look up a list of magnet schools broken up by each county, you can do so at the hyperlink right there. So do we have any questions about VOTEX or magnets? Quick review of those important dates to remember. We have at the top the application window for school choice, which is including the charter, magnet, vocational. So again, that's November 4th until January 8th. Some schools may be having that lottery by mid-February at the latest. You'll be notified by that last day of February, so February 28th, and you'll make a decision by March 21st to notify the other schools as well. So before we end the session, we just wanted to quickly go over some other schooling options as well, like homeschool and private school. So you do have the option to homeschool your child in Delaware, either through a single-family homeschool, which means the education of your children is primarily through a parent or guardian, and it's typically taking place in their own residence. There is also the multi-family home option, which is when there are multiple children that are not all in the same family, and they're being taught in several residences or facilities. And in that case as well, there will be someone acting as a liaison to the Department of Education for reporting enrollment and attendance information for all the families involved. This hyperlink right here will provide more information on homeschool as well if you're interested in learning more. And then we also have our private schools. So private schools are non-public schools that charge tuition. There are many private schools throughout the state. Some are for specific religions, some are for students with special needs. The Department of Education, though, this is very important to note, they do not accredit, approve, or monitor curriculum for non-public schools, nor do they keep records for non-public students. So if you're interested in sending your child to a non-public school, then the Department of Education recommends keeping a copy of your students' records, like their grades, their test cards, their test scores, their report cards, or anything like that for future reference. There's also different affordability options for private schools. So the cost of private school can routinely run tens and thousands of dollars per student per year. For example, the Archmere Academy costs $34,000 per year. However, most private schools do offer need-based financial aid that families can apply for to help offset some of that additional cost. So there's different private scholarships like the Delaware Kids Fund, otherwise known as Sam's Kids, and families can also use a tax-preferred 529 savings account to save for K through 12 private school tuition if that's something that you're interested in. So that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you all for joining with us. We really appreciate it for our first live journalism event. If you're interested in subscribing to our newsletter to learn more about our education coverage, that is right here to the left. If you're interested in becoming a Spotlight Delaware founding member, that is the QR code to the right.